Now, I don't know what you guys think, but if you had a license in the 2000s and you were into cars, chances are you probably wanted one of these Mackinnon Evos. They were four-wheel drive, turbo, rally-inspired goodness from our friends over at Mitsubishi, and I think they're probably the coolest car on the road. 20 years later, the 200 odd horsepower that they had from factory seems pretty anemic. So we're going to take this Mackinnon Evo over to our friends at ERS to give it the Turbosmart turbo upgrade. So we come down here to ERS Spares and I've got Jimmy with me. Now Jimmy, I'm not an Evo expert, but clearly you are. What do we got? What are we working on today?
So today we got Nick's Evo 6.5, which is a Tommy Mackinnon edition. Pretty special car, pretty rare. Blue color, which is one of, I think, 500 of them. Special car, this one, Mackinnon Evo.
Let's pop the bonnet.
Yep.
Take a look at what we're going to do. Now Jimmy, like I said, I'm not an Evo expert, so it's a 4G63, but apart from that, what am I looking at here?
4-cylinder, double overhead cam, 16 valve. Awesome engines, been around for a very long time. I think they're still around now in a few other cars. With this car here, it's actually got a built bottom end, but even in the standard form, 4G Evo engine in a Mackinnon or even up to the Evo 9, there's a few options you can have for turbo kits and plenums and stuff like that.
What kind of horsepower would I be making? And what would I be expecting from factory?
Yeah, so from factory, the Mackinnon had 276 horsepower at the flywheel, which was, I think they call it the Japanese agreement, gentleman's agreement with all the Skylines and Evos at the time. So what we've tested in the past on a standard Evo 6 or Mackinnon, usually about 150, 160 kilowatt at the wheels, which is probably about two something horsepower.
All right, Jimmy, you've developed a turbo kit using our Turbosmart Turbo for these engines. First question, is it only for these Mackinnons or is it going to fit across all Evos? What's the kit good for?
So our kit now, which we just released about a year ago, or probably a couple of years now, it's a V-band Artec manifold. So we removed the standard frame, which I like to say it's a bit old school. We've got our Turbosmart Turbo, which is also V-band. We make our own dump and front pipe combo, and it's practically a full bolt-on kit. It's all on our website.
And what models are good for? What Evos? You
Evo 4 to 9.
Yep.
So all the 4G 6.3 in this era. Yep. We're going to eventually develop for Evo 1 to 3,
yep,
which is still 4G 63, but it's obviously flipped the other way, like the DSM American cars and stuff.
All right. Well, let's take a look at these parts and get to working.
Done.
When it comes to installing this, is this something that sort of, if you're competent using 10mm and a 12mm,
yep,
you can get done?
To make this kit, we tried to make it as easy and efficient and compact and just easy to work on. So, getting to all the V-band clamps, we don't want to have gaskets, we don't want to have to worry about tightening this bolt. You can access the turbo with it being so compact now and manifold. Spanners everywhere, 10mm, 12mm, and it's easy. It's very easy for anyone to install.
And so obviously we've got a dump, we've got a flex, we go down to, I assume that's a factory
flange. Yeah, yep, that's a 3-inch flange at the back. We've got options for V-band and 3-inch.
Yep.
So you can bolt it on at home if you want, under the car, jack up the car. And you obviously can get it with a 3.5-inch V-band, because this is all made in 3.5-inch with a flex.
Yep.
So if you wanted the V-band at the back, then you can make the rest of the exhaust if you wanted to. And we've also got options for external pipe or plumb back in. But all the options have 3.5-inch, so you don't have any back pressure in your exhaust.
Yep.
The dump clears AC, which is a big thing for Evos.
Yeah.
AC compressor. It all works so easily.
Okay, so that's an awesome sort of bolt-up setup. Talk me through the manifold turbo setup.
So this one's a 5862 reverse rotation.
And obviously you've got the water cooled, so we're keeping water cooling because it's a street car, it's important.
Yep. So V-band is my favourite for many reasons. Just being compact, not worrying about gaskets and bolts coming loose and whatnot. In this situation, it's reverse rotation.
Yep.
So we went reverse because factory Evo is actually reverse from factory. So your TDO 5 in an Evo factory manifold platform, it's reverse rotation. So number one, we wanted to follow that, but also it was for a reason that the gases from the engine, because it's so tight there, especially with the Artec manifold, and he came up with an awesome design making it in reverse. It's just more compact, more easier to work with, but it's high speed exhaust gases.
Now on this comp cover, you've got a welded elbow, and then we've got a sort of a clamp style arrangement there.
Yeah, so in our kit, you would have the standard outlet, which we would supply a silicon joiner, which is 45, it's on a 45 angle.
Yep.
That joiner comes to a standard or an aftermarket hostile pipe, which we have in our kit. Yep. This car here, we opted for, because it's obviously fitting locally, we opted for a clamp only because this area gets hot next to the dump and potentially can affect the silicon joiner popping off or ripping. So that's why we've done that. This is not an option online because obviously every car has different position and how they want it, but it's something that we do in-house, custom fabricated.
And obviously we've got external wastegate, which is a big step up from the factory internal gate. Yep. You've chosen the 45. Any particular reason you went to a 45mm gate versus, I guess, any of the others?
45mm is big enough, especially on a manifold that works.
Yep.
There's a lot of manifolds we've had to go bigger. And there's too much boost control issues and whatnot.
Yep.
This manifold works. The Hypergate is one of our favorite wastegates because it's got all the options of where you want, all your ports. It flows really well. We've tested them. They're amazing.
All right, Jimmy, these parts aren't going to install themselves. Let's get cracking. Jimmy and the boys at ERS have finished the install, turbo kit's all done, car's come off the hoist, and this car's got an M-Tron ECU in it. So we're going to get the guys over at M-Tron to do a little bit of tuning on it for us. Now it is a little bit of a misconception in the industry that if you do a turbo kit or you make some upgrades to your car that you can't drive it straight away. Normally you can, especially with a modern ECU like the M-Tron ECU that uses a volumetric efficiency model for doing the fueling and the ignition timing. ECUs like this actually look at the engine airflow, how much air is going into the engine, and they calculate how long to open the fuel injector based on that engine airflow. So whilst we don't want to be hitting boost cut and driving this thing to the limit, we're totally okay to drive it from the hoist at the workshop to the dyno. So now with 320 kilowatts on 98, this Evo is on point for street or track use. At some point, we'll probably go to E85, where we can turn the boost up again, squeeze a little bit more power out of it. Thanks to Artec for the manifold, ERS for the full turbo kit, of course the guys at Entron for fiddling the keyboard and getting the tune on point. I think the only thing left to do is take this thing for a drive. And that, if you ask me, is how an Evo should drive.